So what's with the run? Got the fire in your belly for some reason?
Well, the best reason I got into coaching is because everybody sits back and they complain about the coach, they complain about the referee, they complain about the school board, but they don't do anything about it. So I got into coaching because rather than sit and say, oh, so-and-so's not a very good coach, or somebody's a good coach, or whatever, that's why I got into coaching. If you're not ready to jump in with both feet, don't sit back and complain about things. There's a lot of people that do that. I've officiated a lot of basketball games, and you sit in the crowd and you hear people say, oh, they yell at the ref, Well, that ref's making the best call possible at the time. Now, it might have been a bad call, but the way he saw it, that's the best call he could make. But so the moral of my story is that if you want to change something or like or dislike what's being done, and then you're not willing to jump in with both feet, then don't sit back in the crowd and complain about everything all the time. So that's why I'm getting in, and that's why I got into coaching. If I want to do something about it, to change it, I'm ready to jump in with both feet and change it.
Well, all right. What is it about the way the schools run right now, or the school board is doing things that you want to change?
Well, my biggest thing, I'm not saying they're doing anything wrong, because I think the school board ought to be praised. I think there was a lot of give and take to get this consolidation done, and I think that is a hard position to be at, because there's no matter what you did, you're not going to make 4 communities happy. And so I'm not saying the school board did do anything wrong. I think they did what they had to do to get the consolidation done. So,
would you have done anything differently?
I might have closed buildings or something right away, rather than always compromising. There was so much compromising that everybody was so afraid that the high school is going to be here, or we might close this school, and that everybody was walking on eggshells, and maybe they had to walk on eggshells to get it solved. And so I guess they should be complimented for doing that. So rather than criticizing anybody, they should be complimented for doing what they need to do to get the consolidation done, because I think the consolidation was the right thing to do. And the reason I think it's the right thing to do, because I look at my oldest son graduated 4 years ago, and he came out of there with 18 college credits. And that was the last year of Wall Lakeview Auburn, and that's about the most you could get. That's what everybody was about coming out of there, was 18 hours 4 years ago, because that's about all they could do when we were just Wall Lakeview Auburn by itself. Now that we've become East Sac, Whitney graduated 2 years ago. She came out of there with 30 hours. Will graduated a year ago, came out of there 36 hours. The moral of the story is because we consolidated, that we, as in East Sac County, were able to offer kids more college courses, which we couldn't have done if we were separated. So I think that is very positive about that. So, we're talking about education first, and now I think we need to make the next step to see where we're at as far as utilizing buildings. And that's how what I feel is that I don't know this, and what I would like to do with the school board and the administration is, when school's on, walk through each building while the school is on. Now, I have done this, and I relayed to that a little bit at the meeting, at the August 1st meeting.
Yes, at the August 1st meeting, you stood up and you talked about the building.
Yeah, because I walked around I was assistant basketball coach, and I went to practice early, walked around the school, and there were 7 empty buildings, and I was told by a support staff that, I was wrong. There's 9 empty classrooms in that Sac City elementary building. Well, so I'm thinking, you start looking around, and how many, is there 4 buildings at 60% occupancy? I don't know that. That's an estimate by Gene Riley. I don't know that. But if we're
but that is an estimate. That's something that you have ascertained yourself, that it might be 60% occupancy.
If we got 4 buildings at 60%, look at the space that we are heating and cooling. Well, not all the rooms have air conditioning, but we're heating them all. Mm-hmm. Look at the spaces we're heating or cooling or maintaining that aren't being used. So, and I don't know what the next step is. Do we go to 3 buildings at 80% occupancy, or do we go to 2 buildings at 100% occupancy? I don't know that. Without you know, and I'm not, and maybe we can't. Maybe
are you saying that if you were elected, that'd be something you would come out to the public with? You would look into that information and find out?
I would look into that information, and the reason I'll quote again what I said at the August 1st meeting. When I graduated in 1971 from Sac City, we had 1,200 students and we were in 2 buildings. Now we have 900 students and we're in 4 buildings. That doesn't add up it doesn't add up. For me sitting on this side of the table, that doesn't add up.
For efficiency, for money. What about politically? You've got, 4 towns that are all edgy about keeping their buildings.
Yeah, 3 towns. Auburn doesn't.
Well, that's true.
And Auburn, I've got the most praise for them. They support our school, and they have no school or no activity. And I'm not saying we can close any building. I'm not saying we can close any buildings. Maybe we need to keep all 4 buildings going. Maybe we need them all. I don't know that. Sitting on this table, I'm not privy to that information. And I'm surely not going to walk around every school during the school day. I mean, well, I guess you could with permission of somebody, but I think everybody needs to. I'm not making that decision. I think that the school board and the administration need to sit around and look at that, and maybe it's not feasible. I don't know that.
So what other concerns do you have about the school right now? The other candidates are talking about the school in need of assistance. Is that something that you want to look at?
Yeah, I want to look at that. And again at the August 1st meeting, I asked if they had any short-term, mid-term, or long-term goals for this tax levy money, support money. And Dr. Feeney says, no, not the president. They're going to start working on it. Well, to me, we should have had a plan for where we're going to spend this money before we ask for it. And I think it'd be very easy for the thing to pass if people knew it was going to be spent for. What the tax support levy was going to be spent for. I think it'd be easy to sell, but I don't think people just be open to tax people and not know what the money's going to be for. Now they know it's for the school and they know it's for the students, and people are willing to do anything for the kids and the students. But I think it would be more saleable if the people knew what the plans were in 2 years, 5 years, or 10 years. Again, if our numbers go down, where are we going to be in 10 years? Are we going to be still be in 4 buildings, or are we going to take our money, find a nice central location, and build a brand new building out in the middle of the whole district?
Like in the geographic center?
Yeah.
Well, and then to follow that up, if we're going to start merging other schools, if we're going to build a new building, do we have to look, to see if that's going to be central to other schools too? Because everybody's shrinking.
Everybody's shrinking. That's right. Arweva's, Arweva, if you want to take a college course at Arweva, you got to go to Carroll. You got to get on a bus and go to Carroll.
Are you aware of how many students they have?
No, I'm not sure.
Okay.
No, I'm not sure.
I'm just trying to get a handle on, we've got 950 students, and we're capable of doing 32 credits now, or 36. Back when each of the schools had 450 students, we were capable of doing 18 credits, and I'm just wondering, where that line might be.
Well, I'm looking at it, and our Shaler Cressman went to Galva Hosting. Odebolt went to BCIG. I'm not sure what Newell Fond is going to do. But we're running out of towns.
I think what you're saying is that they're all moving away from us.
They're all going away from us. So whether they ever come in, I don't know. It doesn't surprise me because I'm 58 years old, but I'd still say 10 years ago, I said that eventually in northwest Iowa there's going to be 1 school per county. Well, we're almost there. We almost
are, yeah.
Yeah, and we're almost there. Where are you going to go next? I don't know. To me, those lines have already been somewhat divided, but never say never, because you never know what happens. But right now, back to the where are we going to be 5 or 10 years down the road? How many students are we going to have? And can we, and decisions are going to be made. You know, I'm looking at South Central Calhoun. I mean, they're closing Laurelville. They're closing some buildings over there. Now, those are not easy decisions. Mm-hmm. But I guess students are first, but you still have to be responsible to the taxpayers. And you got to be fair to the taxpayers. And if you're going to have, we spent $800,000 this summer. Was you aware of that until he told us the other night in the meeting?
There was some talk of it earlier on that they were going to spend a bunch of money to get that stuff done, but the exact amount wasn't.
$800,000 is a lot of money. Now, I'm not criticizing anything they did. I'm not saying they didn't need it, but if you would maybe set that aside and got by without spending it, that'd make a heck of a down payment on a new building, wouldn't it? And I'm not saying we're any place close to having a new building, but $800,000 would make a nice down payment on a new building.
Well, it seems like you've given this building issue a lot of thought. You know, in a perfect world, and I understand, and the people listening understand, that you're not tying yourself down to anything, because nothing is set in stone until you make a vote.
Right, and I'm only one vote.
Exactly. But in a perfect world, what would the school system look like? You know,
in a perfect world, you just go to the towns that are growing, mm-hmm. and they have a brand new location with all the buildings in one spot. Tri-Center, Neola, Waukee, and towns that are growing. It'd be great if the central location, according to Barb Kudoff, is right out there between where VT Industries is.
Okay.
That is a central location for this.
That's everybody. That's Auburn, Wall Lake, Sac City. Everybody right. Driving the same road.
Basically, right there, Ferguson Cemetery, VT Industries, Black Hawk Marina. That is a central location for these 4 communities. Mm-hmm. So the ideal world is to have everything one location, including every football field, every baseball field, every softball field, and all the buildings at one location. I mean, that's an ideal world. Now, whether that'll ever happen, who knows? But you know, we no longer have country. There used to be a country school in every township. Mm-hmm. You know, those days are long gone, and I'm sure they never thought that it'd be the way it is today. But it's very disheartening to be a farm boy and love living in Sac County and just watch your population go down every year, and there's nothing you can do about it. You know. And you watch the main streets of pick the town, you know, and then you remember what it was 50 years ago, and
I remember what it was 20 years ago,
and it's not there anymore. So it's very disheartening. But to answer your original question, the ideal is that find a central location and build everything there, and then it doesn't make any difference where you're at. You know, it's centrally located. It's the best location we can find for everybody. Because I feel sorry for the people that live almost in Breda, or if you're living in southern Sac County, it's quite a drive to Sac City. Mm-hmm. And if you live in northern Sac County, it's quite a drive to Wall Lake. I'm fortunate. I'm in the middle. I'm about as close as the middle. Well, as the crow flies, right. I'm only 3 miles from the location we're talking about. But I mean, it's 3.5 miles from here to Lakeview, and it's 3.5 miles to Sac City. So it doesn't make me any difference because I'm fortunate to have the location I have. But what is important to me is that it's what's best for the kids.
Well, let's talk about that a little bit. You are the only candidate that isn't living in one town or another. You are right in the middle. How do you think that changes your perspective compared to the other candidates?
I don't have a favorite town. I actually graduated in Sac City. My kids literally went to Wall Lakeview, Auburn. I have a Sac City address. I have a Wall Lake phone. I mean, take that back. I have a Lakeview phone, not a Wall Lake phone. I have a Lakeview phone. And I think I come in and open-minded, and I'm not voting because it's affecting my town. Because I'm in the centrally located.
Do you think that's unavoidable if you live in a town that you're going to be loyal to your town?
I think that anybody be kidding themselves they didn't think of their town first, because they got to live in that town, and they got to walk the streets of that town, and you're surely affected by those people of that town.
So I've been sitting here listening to you talk, and I've been thinking, the buildings, there's not just heating and cooling, there's not just infrastructure costs, there's staff costs.
And support staff.
And support staff.
And custodian. I mean, when I'm talking support staff, I'm talking
sure,
whether it's aides or secretaries or custodians, or have an independent contractor come in and fix part of the building, you know.
Or do the computer networks.
Yeah. It's how more efficient would Beth Litter be if she was in one building? How more efficient would Mike Fisher be if he was in one building instead of split himself in two? I'll guarantee, I won't guarantee it, but I'll guarantee that when he leaves one building, a minute after he leaves, something falls apart and he has to go back. I mean, that's got to be, Mike Fisher would be more efficient if he was in one building. You know, because, you know, he's got to split his time.
Do you think it's possible to reduce staff at the same rate that we're reducing students?
Well,
which to my understanding is between 5 and 20 students a year right now is the shrink rate.
Let's give an example going back to elementary school. If we have 60 kids in a class in a third grade, I'm just picking third grade, I don't even know how many's in third grade, but there's 60 kids in third grade, there's 15 in Wall Lake, and there's 15 in Sac City. We have 2 teachers in Wall Lake, and we have 2 teachers in Sac City. Now, if they were all under one roof, you could, instead of having 4 teachers, you could have 3 teachers and still have 20 kids in the class instead of 15 in the class. The average class size when I went to school was 22, 25 kids in the class. I don't know what your class size was, but that's what it was. But
we were about 40.
Yeah, but the moral story is if we got 30 kids in Wall Lake and 30 kids in Wall Lake, we have 2 third grade teachers down there because it's too many for one. And if we have 30 kids in Sac City, we have 2 teachers up there. And that means there's 15 in each class. If they were all under the same roof, we could probably get by with 3 teachers instead of 4 teachers. And the students wouldn't be suffering. Instead of 15 for an average, you'd have 20 for an average in the class. And I think any teacher can, I mean, I don't know what the rule of thumb is, but I think any teacher, I thought it was 22, 25 kids per class.
It kind of seems like it's always around 25 kids per class.
And that's normally what it is. And so right there would be, we would be more efficient.
So kind of maximizing your efficiency, you're saying?
Maximizing your efficiency of what you have. And maybe we don't need so I don't know, and then maybe we wouldn't need all these aides. So there again, you know, maybe you have an aide there and an aide up here for the same grade, but maybe they just have one aide for the whole third grade. You know, these are just examples. Don't quote me on any of the numbers, but
I kind of wanted to get into I kind of want to go back to last April. You're a coach, and so you would obviously have some feelings about this. There was the vote to disallow school administrators from participating as a coach.
Right.
Kind of a touchy subject with everybody. Still some people rankling about that a little bit. How do you feel about that?
I think administrator, if you have a problem with your student, when are you going to go talk to an administrator?
After school?
Right. And how are you going to talk to him? He's coaching. You're going to talk to him between 3:30 and 5 o'clock, right? And it's impossible to talk to him if he's coaching every night. And, I mean, forget who it is. I just think that it's not fair to the students not fair to the parents. How are they going to if you have a issue about grades or discipline or whatever, how are you going to talk to the administrator when you can't and he's not around? You know? So, I got to agree with Barb Krudoff said this years ago. She did not want her administrators coaching. She did not want her administrators coaching. Now, because of the merger again, and I think because of trying to keep everybody pleased, it did happen. And I think Dr. Feeney, I don't know, maybe he if he has a meeting if it's after school. I mean, administrator couldn't be there if they're coaching. And I don't know if he has meetings, but when else are you going to get together with your staff and discuss what the plan of attack is for the next day or the next 2 weeks or the next 4 weeks if they're coaching? You know, again, I think it's the administrators have a full-time job, and that's obvious by our bullying report and the bullying that is going on, and the problems we have. I think the administrators, going back to our middle school, having some being tagged of not keeping up with math and English or math and reading, whatever the two are. I think it requires extra work to get them back in line and back in step to meet the qualifications we need to work. And you can't do that if you're coaching. I have coached, and you not just spend from 4 to 6 o'clock or 4 to 6:30 thinking about that. You're thinking about it during the day. Now I spend a lot of time on the road, but there's a lot of times you're thinking about what you're doing. You're making phone calls to make plans around what you're doing. You're just not coaching from 4 to 6:30. And on game nights it's 4 till 10:30 by the time you get home. But that's a lot of time that you're unavailable to do your job.
What do you see your role in the bullying at the middle school to be as a school board member?
My role?
What do you think your role would be in that? For instance, I'm going to give you for instance, and I'm not for or against any particular candidates here, but Chris Rodman is, you know, at every meeting or every other meeting now, used to be every meeting, sort of doing like an update on that, asking administration what's going on. What would you see? What would you do to address bullying?
I've got a question. Is anything being changed?
I don't know if anything's being changed. Is that something you'd want to find out?
Well, I want to find out if anything's being changed. The bullying's still going on, and I know this from coaching and listening to the kids. Now I'm coaching high school kids, but they're talking about there's still a lot of bullying going on. Why? How come? And what are we doing about it? I don't hear specific answers of what is being done. And what are we doing to discipline it? What I'm hearing is we're working on it. Working on what's working on it? That's a pretty general statement.
So you'd see your role, is it fair to say that you'd see your role as following up on that?
Well, my role would be, if the bullying isn't being stopped, why don't we make the penalties more severe? And that would take board approval to change any disciplinary, because we have our regulations. If you get caught doing this, you're out for 4 weeks. If you're caught second, you're out for 8 weeks. And maybe we need to make that stricter. And that would be about the only thing a board member can do, because a board member can't go up to the school and discipline kids.
Sure.
I mean, that's, but we can vote on making that more strict and penalizing, because I don't know how, we're not solving it right now, I can tell you that.
Okay, that's a pretty strong statement right there. Have you received a lot of correspondence from people encouraging you to run for school board?
Yes.
What is their main concern as they write to you? What are the things that people talk to you about?
They know I'm very outspoken, and I speak my peace of mind, and they also know that my job does not depend on how I vote. So that I'm going to vote a certain way because of my opinion, and I'm not affected by I'm not affected by walking down the street and worried about somebody criticizing me because I live in that town.
Fair enough. Well, thanks for talking to me tonight. Is there anything else you'd like to cover before we hang it up today?
No, I think I covered it. It's, you know, like I said before, if don't sit back unless you want to jump in on both feet and do something about it. And that's what I'm doing, and jumping in with both feet. And I'm not saying anybody's doing anything right or wrong, but I want to be able to make those decisions and want to see the facts and figures, whether it's spending money or the school rating. I want to see how that's being done and be privileged to that information rather than just hear about it after the fact, you know.
All right, great. Well, thanks for talking to me today. Gene Riley, everybody. The vote is on September 13th from noon to 8 p.m.